Welcome to the party.
Back at it again, man. Johnny and the Greg. We are podcasting.
We are.
Yeah.
For over a year now.
Yeah. Yeah. People haven't shut us off.
Nope.
Oh, real quick. I promised I would do this if nobody listened to the end of our podcast. Whoever's listening to us in Ireland and Ontario, Canada, DM us. Let us know who you are. We just think that's cool. We just want to say thanks for listening to us. But get in contact with us. We'd love to just know. We're just like that. And we're small at this time, so it's a big deal to us.
Yeah, we're
So,
we're international.
Yeah.
We got a listener in Canada.
Because of one guy in
And
Ireland and Canada.
Could be a girl.
Or could be a girl. Yes, could be a girl. Sorry. Didn't mean to do that. Anyway. All right, Greg. So there's been some news from Zack Snyder.
Yeah. It's the nerds have won, kind of.
They have won. So what are we talking about, folks? We are talking about the Snyder Cut. Back in the day, there was a original, whatever Justice League movie that you saw in the theater or you saw on HBO or you bought. I don't know why you bought it, but if you bought it, that is not the version that Zack Snyder wanted to give us. What he wanted to give us was a 4-hour version of the Justice League. And I'll leave it to I'll throw it to you, Greg. What do you think about this?
It's interesting. I mean, it's I mean, the reason he left the project is he had some personal tragedy happen.
Yeah.
And couldn't carry on. And I don't blame him at all.
Right. Did someone he loved commit suicide? I think?
His daughter did.
Oh God.
Like his 20 something daughter did. And that's terrible. And you can't blame a guy for
Not at all.
And kind of in that Hollywood timeline, Warner Brothers was like, we've got too much invested. We need to still put this out and make our release date. And so they brought in Joss Whedon, who had done the Avengers and had done it well. But then Joss kind of came in and said, I want to make some changes. Like what was already filmed. He's like, nah, I don't want to do that. I want to do something else.
Right.
So that resulted in the terrible CGI upper lip of Henry Cavill.
Yes.
Excuse me. And it is bad. I mean, it is
it's really bad.
Worst CGI. You can find better on PBS cartoons nowadays than you can.
Yeah. It was really bad. The reason why the reason why they had the CGI is because he had a mustache because he was filming Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise.
Yeah. And
they wouldn't let him shade it off.
And he had like a healthy mustache. It wasn't like
it was good.
Just fine lines. It was thick. It was
Magnum PI.
Yeah.
Tom Selleck.
It was 1970s manly mustache that he had.
Hey, do you think you could pull off a mustache?
I've done it a couple times where I'll just shave everything else and kind of keep this.
Yeah.
Hard pass from my wife. Pass. She's like, nope.
No. Is it because you're super thin up there a little bit?
Not totally. I mean, it's not terrible as far as stashes go.
What if you handle more?
That takes a little bit more. Like I gotta get this to grow out a little bit to get the full handle. Yeah, kind of.
You can kind of do that now. You start training it.
I did grow it out real long one time and kind of started doing that. And she was like, no, don't.
Like an itty bitty unicorn.
But I look too much like, do you remember Super Troopers? That film?
Yes.
I look a lot like Farva when I have just the mustache. So that alone makes me go, yeah, it's probably not a great look for me.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the Snyder.
Yeah, start back to the Snyder.
So yeah, Joss Whedon came in and said, I don't want to make that movie. I'm going to take it a couple different ways. And that's what we got.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have the hate that some people have
For
for
the
the
Justice
Justice
League?
League. Yeah, was it a great movie? No, but I've seen worse movies, so I paid my money. I saw it. I don't
What's
think
the worst movie you ever seen?
I don't know. But I'm okay with bad movies. Like, I love Mystery Science Theater 3000 and actually
Yeah.
watching bad movies and making fun of them. And Justice League has those moments.
Yeah. We should
I
do that.
It'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun. Go ahead.
But it's also not a movie that I go back to very often.
Right.
I'm not a huge fan of what's his name's Flash.
Me neither. Ezra Miller?
Yeah.
No. Barry Allen is not this little. What would you call a guy that doesn't have friends? That's not Barry Allen.
I mean, he played it okay for what it was. I mean, I thought he played it okay, just kind of in that starstruck fandom, kind of
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
But there's
Well,
one scene where he's running, and I think in the theater I saw it in 3D, and he's running like he's got this weird kind of swimmy running motion, and I'm like, who the hell told him to do that? I mean, like the
I know.
Flash, he's a sprinter. I mean, he should look like a sprinter, not like he's whatever this was. I mean, that was a bad idea.
Yeah. After Quicksilver and the X-Men,
yeah,
that kitchen soup scene the kitchen scene when they're breaking out Magneto.
yeah,
I forgot which one that is. That's one of the best showing, like, how they showed him how he can use his powers. That was one of the coolest things, and I was expecting something like that with the Flash.
Well, and kind of super speed can work in a couple different ways. I mean, you can move super fast and get to different places, but when you take on their perspective, like the speedster's perspective, that's everybody moving in super slow motion.
Yeah.
And that changes, and you can have a lot of like storytelling elements with that. And I think that's what they did in the X-Men.
Yeah.
First time I ever saw it done was actually in an episode of Smallville. When he
did it a lot.
Super speed. Yeah. And I'm like, that's creative. I like that. Oh, and there was I can't remember the name of the show. It was on Sci-Fi for a couple seasons. But it was it the Specials or something like that? Something.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, actually.
But they had a speedster, and like they did an episode that kind of surrounded around him, and it was everything he could do to not go insane, because he was perceiving everything in that super slow motion.
Oh,
so like he's talking at a normal rate as everybody else,
but everybody else is talking slow.
And he's like, you don't understand. I have to mentally slow myself down just to be able to talk at a regular speed.
That's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah.
And to me, all of you are moving like molasses. Like it is maddening to me. And I'm like, that's cool storytelling. You could do some stuff with that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I didn't really like The Flash. I'm one of the few that really liked Ben Affleck's Batman. I did. I thought he was a great older Batman, like a Batman
I like them too.
50s.
I like them too.
Kind of not fully Dark Knight Returns, fully Frank Miller, but approaching that.
I liked him in Batman versus Superman. I did not like him in Justice League.
Yeah. I mean, a little bit of his kind of whininess in Justice League. I'm like, again, that's just not Batman.
Yeah.
And then like Wonder Woman, Aquaman, we barely got to really see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were there, but you didn't use Wonder Woman well enough, and Aquaman was barely used. And I love the Aquaman film. I think where he carried the entire movie, I like it. And then Superman, totally underused. Like, like him showing up, like resurrected, flying away, and then showing up at the end. I'm like, no, he's a founding member. Like,
Yeah, they got him wrong from the get-go. He's not this depressing, moody character. He is a beacon of light and hope, man. He is Superman.
So
Yeah.
Zack Snyder should make a Batman film. He should not make a Superman film.
I agree. Yeah. I agree with that. My whole thought on this is, okay, look, I didn't like Justice League. Like I won't watch it again. If it's on TBS and I'm doing like the dishes or something, I'll have it on as background. But I'm not. Yeah, it's not something where I'm like, Greg, why don't you come over? Let's watch Justice League. I'm not.
Right.
That's not. My whole thing is, look, if you guys didn't like Man of Steel, if you didn't like Batman versus Superman, you're not going to like Zack Snyder's cut of the Justice League. It's not going to change anything. Right. And I think some people think that now that I think there's a rumor that Henry Cavill has now signed back on for Superman to continue being Superman.
He never really said he was hanging it up.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
but
he
I
was
think it's
pretty
official.
adamant.
I think it's official. He signed something, so he's official. What they're saying is, and I don't know, and that's the problem. I don't know what's actually truth and what's not, but they're saying that Pattinson's out because he's not working out, and what I mean by not working out is he's not hitting the weights. That's what they're saying. Yeah, that's what they're saying. They're saying that the guy can't put on weight. He's not adding. He's not. He hasn't touched a weight since quarantine. I don't know if that's believable or not. And they said Ben Affleck is ready to get back in it again. And I'm like, I don't know about any of the stuff you guys are saying.
I don't like that either. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because Ben is now he's cresting over into too old. Like
yeah.
And not that he can't do it because he's a good actor, but people keep forgetting he has multiple Oscars.
Yes.
And so I think he could. I don't know if I want that Batman anymore. I hadn't heard that about Pattinson though.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I heard that. If I find something, I'll send you what I saw. If I come across it again. But yeah, 4 hours. Okay, you're just gonna see his version, and again, like if you guys didn't like, maybe there's gonna be. According to them, it's going to connect better with Batman versus Superman. So I guess if you were to take Batman versus Superman and Justice League and make it one movie, then it all makes sense, I guess. But even then, I heard that the Justice League movie, it's going to end bad. Like what I mean by that is like I think Darkseid wins in this. Like his whole thing was like a 3-movie Justice League stuff.
Like every other superhero film that is ever released, I'm reserving judgment until I see it.
Fair enough.
Like I can't. We've been burned too many times with movies that we get hyped up about and they end up being subpar, and movies that we think are going to absolutely suck end up being phenomenal.
Yeah, that's true. What did you think of what was the one superhero movie that you remembered that you were ready for it and you saw it and you went, oh. And you got one? Fantastic Four?
Yeah. Well, but not the Josh Trunk.
Yeah, not his one?
Not his, because I had heard that was going to tank anywhere.
Was it Roger Corman's?
No, we all knew Corman's was going to be terrible. It was Roger Corman, but I still watched it.
Yeah.
But I think it was maybe even the first Fantastic Four. Like I was I was like, this is going to be cool, and it ended up being
Yeah.
Like the Schumacher Batman films.
Oh. Yeah.
But again, that's been over 20 years ago that you're like, oh, this is going to be, oh no, this is neon. This is not what I expected.
Let's see. I think mine was actually Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
I was so hyped for that. I was so excited. And I walked out. I remember I did that thing in my head where I'm like, no, it was good. It was good. It was good. And
Trying
then
to trick yourself.
I'm trying to trick myself, and like my first list coming out going, that movie sucked. I was like, no, it's good. He was good.
I really wanted that with, Batman, Superman. I'm like, but again, I walked into it going, I already know Lex Luthor has been totally miscast.
Oh my God, was that horrible? Yes.
And that this is not good. Like, if he's the crux of the film, it's not going to be good. I
Right.
know they were going to have Doomsday come in, and that I'm like, okay, so Superman's going to die at the end because they're bringing in Doomsday, and you don't bring in Doomsday unless you're going to kill Superman. So I knew that was going in. So yeah, I mean, there were, again, moments that I liked and moments that I was like, for me, Batman Superman was so much talking. I mean, it was just like, can we get to the superhero stuff already? Because this is getting. I did like the director's cut a lot more.
Did you?
I did, because they explain stuff. I mean, there's some things in there where you're like, oh, that's like the whole beginning scene with like the African warlord Jimmy Olsen, and
right.
It didn't make sense. And they're like, now the world is mad at Superman because they think he destroyed an entire village. I'm like, why do they think he killed the warlord? For sure. Because you can't super speed a guy through a cement wall and have survive. I mean, but I'm like, why do they think he? And it turns out that in the director's cut, they, like, those bad guys
annihilated the entire village.
They killed the entire village, piled them up, and then set them all on fire and burned them beyond recognition to make
picked up all the bullets.
To make it look like Superman used heat vision on the entire town. I'm like, oh yeah, they should have explained that before, because why is this woman standing before Congress saying Superman needs to be put in check? It made no sense. So that was so maybe that gives me a little bit of hope for the Snyder cut. Like maybe the original script that was approved by Warner Brothers after years of development, instead of Joss Whedon just coming in and being like, I'm going to do this. And if anybody argued with him, he would be like, did you make Avengers? Because I did.
Yeah,
and then people would just be like, oh, right, okay.
Right. I agree with you. I also think the biggest problem that I just felt like that whole what they wanted to create, it was doomed from the start, because they were trying to. It's like that one guy that comes in. He had something was late. He comes late to the party. All of his friends are drunk, and he feels like he has to catch up to him.
Yeah.
Right? You end up just puking all over the place. It's never a good night for you. That's exactly what happened to the DCEU. They tried to catch up so damn fast to Marvel, because I think what they were trying to do was beat them to the punch with Darkseid.
Yeah.
Because
they were.
Anybody now that watches that doesn't know about the DC, they're going to sit there and look at that and go, oh, that's Thanos.
Yeah.
Which I believe Thanos was copied from Darkseid.
In the comics, yeah. I mean, they're very similar.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, Warner Brothers execs, whoever's in charge of that, they should be fired, because when they're saying like, yeah, we need to catch up to Marvel, we need to really get a hold of this. Marvel had a 12-year plan.
Yeah.
Like 12-year plan, millions of dollars, backing with and they got lucky with Robert Downey Jr. He was not a huge star at the time, but he was at least a recognizable name. But turning him into Tony Stark and having him kind of lead that uprising,
right?
Because Chris Evans was known a little bit. Mm-hmm. Chris Hemsworth was known in Australia, but not in the United States.
Correct. Yep.
And everybody else was kind of.
I think Scarlett Johansson was the only real.
Yeah, people knew her from
the hot star before those Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, Robert Downey Jr. has been in film forever, and Chris Evans had. I mean, I liked his Push. I liked that movie.
Oh yeah, Push is a great film.
But he wasn't a star. No, he wasn't a star at all. And like you said, I never heard of Chris Hemsworth. I never heard of him until I saw him.
Well, he was an Australian soap opera guy.
Oh, was he? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's what he was.
All right. So yeah, I feel like maybe it'll be better, but I don't think it's going to continue. My problem is it's going to end on a cliffhanger. It's like watching a season like that you've been invested in, and then you realize, oh, it's not renewed.
Yeah.
So they just leave you at a cliffhanger, and I
Well-
think that's how it's going to happen.
Well, but if you know that going in, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, just don't be shocked.
Yeah.
The people that will be shocked will be like my dad, who watched the first Lord of the Rings and was like, "That's how they're going to end it." I'm like, Dad, there's 2 more movies coming. Oh, he's like, they never got to the
That's
mountain.
great.
What?
That's
Why
great.
I don't get it.
That's great. Yeah. My wife always asks me, why didn't they just fly the bird to the mountain?
That's always the.
Yeah, it is. But anyway, all right, man, let's head to our fact of the day. I think we've talked enough about Mr. Snyder. Click it. Random fact is many American public libraries carry video games as an attempt to lure teenagers into a library. The result is more teenagers coming to the library, and books are being checked out at a rate that exceeds what it was before the games arrived.
Mm-hmm. I've heard the Austin Public Library is phenomenal. Like
Wait a minute. I think you've talked about this. Go ahead.
I have. They've really changed the concept of a library. I mean, there's certainly books there, a lot of them. But they have like an innovation lab where they've invited, and Austin's kind of becoming like a tech capital. So like Google is building a giant building there.
Are they
So,
really?
oh yeah, they are. Oh, sorry, my phone started thinking I was talking to it.
Your house is haunted.
So they started to bring in like there's a whole section. It's like a hands-on technology section.
Yeah.
Where new technologies like some of these might not even be able to be purchased yet, but you can go in and play with them and check it out. They've got breakout rooms for like people that work remotely or just meeting rooms where you can sign up and here's a meeting room rather than having your board meeting. You can just go to it at the library. There's a restaurant in there. There's coffee shops all over.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
That
sounds great.
There's just, I mean, computer stuff everywhere where it's free to get on. Just really cool. Like when I was down there in September, and I was technically on vacation, but something came up and they're like, hey, we really need you to check in with this. And I happened to be downtown Austin. I'm like, okay, well, my friend was like, well, let's just go to the library. You can hop on there. So I worked for like an hour at the Austin Library. It was great, actually. It worked out.
Wow. Yeah, that's good. That's good because I think if everybody started taking that approach, libraries would be popular again. That's good.
Yeah,
it's good. I like that.
Take that community approach again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's that's what's missing a lot now. I think is everybody getting together, community. Having a place to hang out at. All right. That'll be it for this show today. As always, thank you for listening. Greg, you got any cool, witty comments you want to say before we stop?
Be excellent to each other.
Yeah. I know I put you on the spot there. My bad. All right. We love you guys. Thanks for listening. Johnny and Greg podcast. We are out.